Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is the third part of the inventory tutorial series that I'm doing in this channel. So in the last part we created the interaction system, so we have the interaction message in the upper part of the screen, as you can see. And in this third part we're going to import the models, as you can see here. So we have the sword, the shield, the apple and a banana. So we're going to import this in this part and we're going to create all the blueprints that we need for this to work. But before this, if you do like this video, please hit the like button. This helps me a lot, and subscribe so you don't lose any new content in this channel. So let's start. Okay, so now that we know that the interaction message is working, let's delete this cube here and let's delete the BP test class as well. So there we go. Now let's start importing the items mesh so we can use in the database. To do this, let's go to the content folder and let's create a new folder here. So right click, go to new folder and let's name this folder assets, like this. There we go. Let's open this folder and here I will create a new folder for the meshes. And inside this folder I will create a new folder for collectibles. So collectibles, so everything that is collectible in the game will be inside this folder, so the basic mesh. So now let's open this and start importing the items. I will leave a link in the description for every item that I'm using in this series, and I'll leave a link in the description as well for the icons that I created to use in the inventory, so if you want you can download those to follow along. Okay, so I will start with the sword and I will show you this part, but for the next items I will speed up the video because it's basically the same thing, so you just need to import the items. So first I will create a folder here for sword, like this. Let's open this folder and here I will create 3 more folders. So one for the materials, like this, another one for textures, and another one for icons. So every item folder will have these 3 folders here, one for icons, materials and textures. And now let's import the static mesh. So let's right click, import, just navigate where you have the meshes. So for me is this folder here, and let's start with the sword. So let me import the FPX here. There we go, let's import. And now we have the sword here, as you can see, the static mesh. So now let's create the material for this. So let's go to materials folder here. I will right click, material, and I will name this M sword, like this. And let's create a material instance for that. So right click on this asset and create material instance. I will name this MI sword, so MI for material instance, like this. There we go. Let's go back to the sword static mesh here, and here in the materials let's change this to the MI sword, so the material instance for the sword. There we go. So now we just need to implement the material, but first let's import the textures. So let's open the textures folder here and let's right click and then import all the textures that we need for the sword. So let me import here. There we go. And now we need to change something in the masks here. So let's open the metallic, for example. So the metallic, this doesn't need any sRGB. So let's change this, the compression settings here, from default to mask, so no sRGB. And we need to do this for the other maps as well. So for the occlusion here, so let's open and let's change the compression settings from default to masks. Let's save, close, and let's do the same for the roughness. Let's open and change this to masks, like this. We don't need to do this for the normal map or for the base color, only for the other maps. So now let's go back here to the materials and let's open the material, and we just need to connect the textures here. So let's open the folders here. So to open you just need to press Ctrl and space in the keyboard, and let's navigate where we have the textures, so sword, textures, and let's select everything and drag to the graph like this. And now we just need to connect this. So the base color here goes to base color, of course, Then we have the metallic, I think it's this one. There we go. So let's connect metallic. Let's connect the roughness. So this, the roughness, the normal in the normal, and the occlusion in the ambient occlusion. There we go. So now we have the material. Let's apply and save. And if we go back to the static mesh here, as you can see, we have the textures in the sword. So now let me close the material and the static mesh. Let's go back to the sword folder. So now I will change the name of this to SM Sword. So SM stands for static mesh. So there we go. I will do the same thing for the other items. So I will speed up this part because, as I said before, it is the same thing. So you just need to import the items. There's nothing special here. So let me import the other ones now. Okay, so I forgot, but we need to import the icon as well. So let's open the icons folder here, and here let's import the sword icon. So again, I'll leave a link in the description so you can download all the icons that I'll be using in this series. So there we go, we have the sword icon here. It's just an icon with the sword and a transparency background. So now I will speed up this part of me importing the other items. So let's go. Okay, so as you can see, I imported all the items that I'm going to need for this series. So I imported an apple, a banana, a shield, and a sword. So now let's start creating the blueprint classes for these items. So to do this, let's go back to the folders here. Let's go back to the blueprint folder. And here I will create a new folder. So let's create a new one, and I will name this interactables like this. And let's open this and start creating the classes. Okay, so first I need to create like a blueprint master class to serve as a parent to everything that is interactable. So let's create this class now. So right click, go to blueprint class and select actor here. So because this will be a master class, let's name this BPM for blueprint master, and I will name this interactable. So basically everything that is interactable in the game will be a child of this class. So let's open this BPM interactable, and here let's put things that are common to everything that is interactable. So in our system, to make something interactable, we need to give the interaction interface. So let's go to class settings here, and let's add here in the implemented interfaces, let's add the BPI interactable. There we go. So let's compile and save. And another thing that every interactable item will need to have is the interaction message. So let's create this as a variable. So here in the variables, let's add a new one, and let's name it this interaction message. There we go. And of course this needs to be a text like this, and we need to implement this get interaction message from the interface. So let's double click on this, and this will be really simple. We just need to return this interaction message variable here. So let's get a reference and return this. There we go. So for now, this is basically it. So when we created a child of this class, the child will already have the get interaction message implemented, and of course we can give an interaction message through this variable here. We can type something here, so but we don't need to implement this again, and everything that we put here, every child will already have implemented. So there we go. Now let's create the child of this one. Okay, but before, as you may know, not every interactable item in a game is collectible. We can have doors, buttons, chests, as we will have in this series, and of course this is not collectible. So everything that is interactable will be a child of this class. And I will create another class that will be a master class and will be a child of this, but only for the collectible things. So we can code the collectible part of the item, and this code will be for every collectible item. So it is easier for us to add new items in the game. So let me show you what I mean by this. So now let's create a new class here. So right click, go to blueprint class, but this time we will create this as a child of this BPM interactable. So here in all classes, just type BPM and you will find this BPM interactable here. So let's select this and select here. There we go. And let's name this BPM collectible. There we go. So this BPM collectible here is a child of this interactable class. So let's open here so you can see. Let me put to the side here. So if I go to here, so if I select this BPM collectible here, or if I click on class default, as you can see, we have the interaction message here. So we can type something here. So as you can see, this collectible class is inheriting the functionality of this interactable class. So now we have an interactable class to everything, and now we have a collectible class that we can create childs that will be collectible in a game. So I hope you can understand this. So now that we have this class, let's create the childs that will be the items of the game. So the apple, the sword, the shield. So let's create these childs now. Okay, so we will come back to these master classes later in the series, but for now we just need to create the classes so we can create the items itself, so the blueprint for the items. And as I mentioned before, here in the collectible class we don't need to implement the get interaction message function, because we already did this in the interactable class, and the collectible class inherit from the interactable class. So the collectible class is a child of the interactable class. So everything that we implemented in the interactable class, the collectible class will have as well. So now that I explained this, let's create the items itself. Okay, so to create the items, let's go back to the folders here. Here in the interactables folder, I will create a new folder for collectibles like this. Let's open this folder and let's create the first collectible item. So let's right click, go to blueprint class, and here let's search for BPM collectible. There we go. So as you can see, the collectible is a child of the interactable, so every collectible item will be an interactable item as well. So here let's select BPM collectible. Let's select here, and this will be the sword blueprint. So let's name this BP sword like this. There we go. So let's open this, and because this is a child of the collectible class, that is a child of the interactable class, if we select the BP sword here or class defaults, we have the interaction message to type here. So because this is the sword blueprint, let's type collect sword like this. There we go. And as I mentioned before, we don't need to implement the get interaction message because we already did this in the interactable class, in the master interactable class. So now we just need to add the model here. So to do this, let's go to components here. Let's add a new component. Let's add a static mesh. So there we go. Let's add a static mesh. I will name this SM item like this, and of course let's select here the sword. So let's search for SM sword that we imported. There we go. And let me just rotate this a little bit here, like this. Let me scale this down because I think it is too big. There we go. Let's compile and save. And now if I put this in the Word, we should have the message in the upper part of the screen. So let me put this here, and let's hit play to see if this is working. So if I look to the sword here, we should have, there we go, E to collect sword. So let me get rid of this raise here. So to do this, let's go back to the components folder here. Let's open the interaction component. Let's go to the look function and let's go to this sphere trace by channel. Here in the draw debug type, let's change this to none so we don't have any debug. Let's compile and save, and let's hit play again so you can see. There we go. So this time we don't have the debugs for the lines here. If I look to the sword, there we go, E to collect sword. So that's how we're going to add new items to the game. So now I will create the other items, so I will speed up this part because it is the same thing. I will just create a blueprint class as a child of the collectible class. I will put the message, the interaction message, and of course I will put the model, so I will show you this later. So let me create the other items now. Okay, so as you can see, I created the other items here, so let me go through them so you can see that is the same thing. So I created the shield here, is the same thing, so we have a static mesh with the shield, and for the message I type it collect shield. So I created an apple as well, so we have the apple model here in a static mesh, and the message is collect apple, and same thing for the banana. So I created all these items, all this blueprint as a child of the BP collectible class. So now I have all this in the level here, so if I hit play, we should have all that we need. So E to collect sword, E to collect shield, E to collect apple, and E to collect banana. So there we go, we have the items and the interaction message is working as fine. So there we go, now we have the items that we can use in a game. Okay, so the last thing that I want to do in this video is add simulate physics to this item, because let me show you, if I put these items a little bit higher here, so maybe this. So now if I hit play, these items will be floating in the air, and of course I don't want this, I want these items to fall, so I want this to simulate physics. So to do this is really simple, we just need to go to the item that we want this, and we need to select the static mesh here, and we just need to check the simulate physics button here. There we go. And for this I will add a mass as well, so let's check the mass here, and I will put 100 here. So let's compile and save, and let's do this for the other items as well. So let's select the static mesh, simulate physics, and let's enable the mass as well. Let's compile and save. Let's do the same for the apple here, so let's simulate and add the mass, compile and save, and the same thing for the banana. So let's simulate and add the mass. Let's compile and save, and now if I hit play, as you can see, the items fall and we can interact with the item, as you can see. But we have a problem here. So if I step on the apple here, as you can see, if the apple rotates, the player tries to rotate as well. So the character tries to rotate, as you can see. And I want to prevent this, and to prevent this is really simple. We just need to go to the player blueprint. So let's go to here to bases, main, characters, and let's open the BP main character here. We just need to select the character movement component here, and if we scroll down until we find the character movement walking category here, Here we have the ignore base rotation. So basically, this character movement component will try to rotate the character with the platform that we are stepped in. So in this case, I don't want this, so I will check this box here. So ignore base rotation. If you have platforms that move and rotate with the character, you can through code disable this when the character is in a platform. So for now, let's just ignore the base rotation. So let's compile and save. And now if I hit play and step in the apple, for example, this will be a lot better because the camera and the character will not rotate with the item that we are stepping in. So there we go. And that's all for this part. So in this part, we added the items to the project. So we imported the meshes here and we created the base classes for them, the master classes. So the master for the interactable and the master for the collectible. So now we have the items as a blueprint class. So in the next part, we're going to start to create the database for the items. So the database that will hold the informations about the items. So the name, the description, like the damage for the sword, for example, the sell value, the weight, and things like this. So we will create the database in the next part. So if you do like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't lose any new content. And as always, thank you for watching, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next part.